Welcome to the Ira Jupiter Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and this is the first episode, the first installment. And today we have on Mr. Neil Ballas. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ira Jupiter Podcast, Mr. Neil Ballas.
Hey, what's up, Tom? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Pretty good. Excited to be the first guest, and definitely excited to see where this is going to go too.
It's going to be different than the show that this kind of piggybacked off of. Much respect to Ry Voss and his show, Codex of Curiosities. Go over there and like and subscribe to that one as well. I'm sure he's going to create some amazing content. What's the word I'm looking for? Content. Yeah. I'm not a very well-spoken person. Yeah, so it's I guess you would say the birthday of the show. Today is also my birthday, so that's
happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's pretty interesting. I turned 44 today. That's why I got this whole beard going on. How old are you, dude? I forget.
What's that?
How old are you again? 30 something?
39. There's actually a lot more gray in here. You just, for some reason, the camera's nice to me.
No, I think just for men.
No, it's naturally pretty dark. I've got some red in there too somewhere. Bit more gray up on the side.
On the temples there.
Yeah.
So, Neil, for anyone out there who doesn't know who you are by now, if they've been following, the former show, The Lost Frequency, or me or anybody who's associated with the show, they should know you by now. But if not, go ahead and tell the listeners, the viewers, of a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Neil Ballas. I'm somebody who's always been, I don't know if plagued is the right word, but always been followed by like weird phenomenon, whether it's UFOs, sometimes paranormal activity. I don't know if ghost encounters is the right term because I've never actually seen a ghost or anything, but I've definitely experienced some weird stuff, and my whole life I've seen weird things in the sky that I can't explain. I went to school to study like engineering and math and physics to try to understand what I've been seeing. I've always been fascinated with it, and I've still just seen stuff that doesn't make any sense, and it's made me. I've heard other people have the same thing where once they start experiencing these things, you just get hyper focused on it. You have to know more about it and just dive deeper. And that's just what I've done my entire life. It's always been I'm always the one at the parties who's like sitting around, everybody's talking about normal stuff, and I'm like, yo, have you guys seen any UFOs recently?
Hey, did you know about Project Paperclip, my friend?
Yeah,
I know. That's always been me too. It's always been me too. I always see weird stuff too, dude. Like the Super Bowl halftime show. That's always been, like what's going on there? Like, could you put some metal on there? Because I know you're like you're into like the heavier side of music, like me. And it's just always the same stuff, and it becomes just monotonous, and it just makes me think like what because I don't know, man. I don't know how you are, but I think like the music since I don't know maybe the mid '80s has gone downhill.
Yeah,
the '90s were good too. Depends.
I feel like pop music has always been in a weird place, and it's never been for me. And it's also kind of weird how, if you notice, that pop music from the like 60s to 70s was very different. Pop music from the 70s to 80s had a very different shift. 80s to 90s had a different shift, but all of a sudden you hit the 2000s and
And it's
it's
just
all been the
yeah.
same. Like
Well,
the
the
past
'60s
20
was like
years.
the Beatles, right? You know what I mean? Like
Ugh,
the
yeah.
Beatles. You know, and it's like one of the cornerstone bands of like every rock band
Yeah.
out there ever. And then you run into things like fucking WAP or whatever that is. You know,
Yeah. Ah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
I
man. It's
know.
been a slower downhill, like just decline into like just the same rhythmic beats. Like it becomes like hypnotic to it. What do you? I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
very
Oh
just.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, I know. It's always been something I've always thought about too. Like, and especially, it's I've noticed too that most pop music is very like up tempo and up, like almost like, hey, be happy and listen to this and be happy. And like for me, that doesn't work. I need dark music to feel happy. I need darkness. You know,
I need
the
something of interest to listen to. I don't want to hear about like getting your phone number and call me. Maybe. Yeah, I don't.
God,
It's just I don't get it.
so that's really hilarious. You actually specifically say that because what 20 minutes ago, my partner Steve was like, he's like, oh, I added a bunch of songs to my like playlist, and the very top one was "Call Me Maybe," and I'm like, did you seriously add "Call Me Maybe"? And he's like, I like it. I swear to you.
Or you need to send him like Tool Lost Keys or something. Just blow his mind. Like, what is this, kid? What are you trying to show me? It's like,
Oh, he won't listen to my music. I play
really?
him stuff, and he's like, no. but
Yeah, I
but
mean,
yeah.
like my girlfriend, she's into like some of that stuff. Like she listens to like old '90s stuff. I don't know if it's a Mexican thing, but at least in this town, they really like the Shabba Ranks, Mr. Loba Loba, Mr.
No.
Fanta. They
I
get
got me Mr.
down.
Fantastic.
They get down. Or I don't want no short men, short men,
Yeah,
whatever you call it. Right?
yeah.
She's like, could you tell me everything he's saying? And I'm like, you sure you want to hear that? Or she's saying, better said. Yeah, man. My ex-wife, she would be into like some of like like punk and stuff like that. But I can show her like like some Monolord and some Yob and some really heavy. I showed you Yob recently, and you were like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is all right."
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's
No, I definitely I've been listening to it. It's definitely good.
it's definitely deep. So what do you want to get into, man? What do you want to talk about, bro?
There's a few things that I don't really see getting talked about a lot, along because I listen to a bunch of different, UFO podcasts, paranormal podcasts, stuff like that. And One thing that's actually, there's a TV series, or Netflix is coming out with a series based on this book series called Remembrance of Earth's Past. Some people know it as the Three Body Problem book series. Um,
Three body problem? You mean like mind, body, and spirit or something?
No, no, actually, the premise of the book is that the first book, which is the three body problem, is actually talking about three bodies in space,
Hmm.
and it kind of starts around where there's like this simulation, this like almost like a virtual reality like game that these people are playing, and uh, in that they try to understand what's happening with the way that they're because the planet they're on in this simulation goes through these like death and life cycles,
Okay.
and it's all based around these lights they see in the sky, and come to find out that they're in um, a binary star system, and that this planet is orbiting around two different stars, and
Oh,
so it
Tatooine.
goes. Yeah, yeah. So it goes through different cycles where sometimes the planet is too hot to maintain life, and sometimes it's too cold. Um,
Oh, wow. So
so
it's
it varies.
kind of like an ice age, but like a reverse ice age of sorts, like where like there's a big dying off, maybe.
Yeah, and what the creatures on this planet do is that they actually dehydrate themselves, and they store themselves for later, for when they have they call it like chaotic periods and non-chaotic periods. And so then they come back and they try to advance a civilization during these non-chaotic periods, and then they have to dehydrate themselves, and they keep falling back in technology, but they eventually work their way to being a very advanced race.
Mm.
And so what we end up finding out is that, I mean, without trying to spoil the whole book, is that this race, they call them the Trisolarans. I'm sorry, it's a tri-star system, not a binary star system. That's with the
Okay.
three
Hmm.
body. But they call themselves the Trisolarans, and they come from the Alpha Centauri star system. And they end up finding out in a roundabout way that Earth exists and could support life and isn't chaotic like their planet is. So they're like, well, we're just going to take you over. And so they send some ships to.
So it's
Um,
like transpermia, maybe something of that nature.
no, more straight up alien invasion, where they're just going
Okay.
to take
All
over
right.
our planet, and they are in contact with us. But they do a bunch of things, and what's really interesting is the book had a lot of things, predicted a lot of stuff. Um, like the fact that the book was written, or the book series was written between, I think, like 2003 2009, and this author predicted that the Centauri star system was a tri-star system, which we didn't find out until like quite a bit after that. Not only that, but he also predicted that there was a planet there that was existing in kind of a Goldilocks zone, and we just discovered that in, I think, like 2019. And
I
then
didn't
I
even know
believe in
that. I
like
thought Alpha Centauri was a binary star system. I didn't know
it's
that.
yeah, one of them is a burned out star, I believe.
Oh,
Because
neutron
there's
star.
Proxima. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up, but I know that there's like Proxima Centauri and then and Alpha Centauri,
Right.
um, and then I believe there's a third one, but I I don't know if it's completely burned out or if it's just a dark star, or what. But
Are you suspecting maybe like predictive programming?
um, no, I honestly, it feels like the way the whole book plays out, especially with the name remembrance of Earth's past, it's almost like this guy is talking about a previous iteration of the universe, and
Wow.
that this happened in a different a previous universe, and that we are living in a different the next iteration of it, and in this one the Trisolarans hasn't tried to invade us. um,
Okay.
and part of what's really interesting is that he talks about this dark forest hypothesis,
Okay.
and the idea is that the reason why this, because this kind of solves the Fermi paradox, where, you know,
Right.
if life is so abundant in the galaxy, how come we don't see it? How come we don't
Right.
hear it? And the dark forest hypothesis kind of solves that, in a sense that the reason why we don't hear anybody is because any race that becomes technologically advanced enough to announce themselves to the rest of the galaxy, they get destroyed by some higher advanced civilization. And
Oh.
the thought process behind it is that we all experience time differently. Like, we experience time differently than a sloth. You know, sloths
Okay.
experience, like, we're super fast moving compared to them. Same with plants. You know, like plants are really slow moving, and but if you look at a time lapse, you see that plants actually move rather, like, could be moving at a normal pace. They just are much slower than we are. So
Like I think if you take a cockroach, I've heard you say if you take a cockroach and you blow it to the size of like a human, it could run like 600 miles an hour, like some
yeah,
craziness like that. So,
yeah.
I don't know if that fits into what you're talking about.
I mean, in a sense, we don't. The idea is that, like, you know, if we spy another civilization and we see that they're advancing in technology, but let's say we're higher advanced than they are, we
Okay.
don't know how quickly they may boom. I mean, just look at the past 100 years of our technological
Oh,
advancement.
crazy,
It's been
crazy.
insane. And so, since you can't predict that, and you might not be able to predict it on another race, and if you can't even establish communications with that other race, but you know they exist, the safest thing to do, if you can't establish if they're peaceful or not, or even if you
Is to,
can, you
is
don't
to
know how
destroy them.
long. Yeah, you don't know how
Right.
long they could be. So it's us or them.
Right.
And so the logic is there to just, if you're a much more advanced civilization, don't let other civilizations expand
Get a
and just
foothold and
destroy
right.
them.
What do you
Yeah.
think about this whole AI thing? Because I think like the first iteration is kind of fun. Like that picture that you all are seeing there in the background is like, I just typed in cosmic alien, and then like that popped up, and I was like, oh, that's fucking bitch. And you know what I mean? That's really cool. I think we're past the
Yeah.
10-minute mark. I can start cussing now. And and I don't know, man, because it's going to take over simple tasks. But I think eventually, like shows like this might even become obsolete. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and yeah, and I also think too that like once it starts improving upon itself and changing its own code,
I don't know,
that's
man.
when it gets scary. That's when Skynet comes around.
Yeah, I
Um,
was just about to say that. Just when I'm going to be like throwing a, I don't know if I should say that. Throw a pipe bomb in John Connor's mailbox. It's a fictional character. Take it easy, YouTube.
yeah. Yeah, and another thing to think about too is that what if the phenomenon that we've experienced, like the UFO phenomenon, what if it's actually they're not actually biological beings that are in these crafts? What if it is an advanced, in a far advanced AI, but it needs us to create it? Like maybe an advanced AI from the future, and it's come back to like
Right.
push us along to create itself, that we are its creator.
Whoa.
Like,
That's fucking dude, man.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
some.
I'm gonna go do stand up tonight after this show, and I got like really simple jokes because my Spanish isn't up to snuff yet. But you're
Yeah.
already blowing my mind, because I was just thinking, oh, what if they're time travelers? I'm thinking like, where's he going to go with this? And then you just fucking throw me down a black hole. Thanks, Neil.
I mean, it's kind of interesting to think about. Like, what if that is the case? What if, I mean, I know that I've heard a lot of people talk about how like the Greys are like an actual robot, like that
right.
there's some kind of biological robot. Like, what if they are controlled by an AI that needs us to create it, so they're influencing us in order to create that AI?
So like in a future iteration or some type of parallel universe that's able to come through. I hate the word the veil or rabbit hole because you hear it so often, but like
Yeah,
through into this reality, and then is able to manipulate this reality with its.
yeah, to
I
sustain
don't
its
know,
own.
man. I don't know, man. That
Yeah,
is that is out there.
it's
This is
it
what you think
is.
about in your free time, Neil.
Oh, dude, it is. And like with the dark forest thing too, I mean, because the AI plays into that, like where one of my friends was telling me, he was like, "Oh no, because love wins all." And I mean, I agree that love is a powerful force. And he was saying that basically no civilization that doesn't have love could advance beyond being a destructive race, because they destroy themselves. And while that makes logical sense, at the same time, what if in a race that is advanced isn't a biological advancement? What if it is an AI that is advanced to highly um, forms of technology, and that they have now advanced as a civilization, as an AI civilization, that they
Right.
still come up with the dark forest hypothesis as well
Or
and
maybe
destroy everything else?
love gets the civilization to a certain point in which you're able to create a simple AI like we have now, like love for your family and everything.
Yeah,
And then it becomes its own entity and then starts destroying its creator. And then the dark forest hypothesis also takes root. So like maybe a
yeah.
50-50. That's
Yeah,
weird, man.
and so something that got me thinking. Oh, and actually, the idea of the dark forest is that this galaxy is a dark forest, and everybody is either prey or hunter. And once a hunter announces itself out, it's now become prey by other hunters. So that's the whole idea of the dark forest. But something that got me thinking is that like a lot of people think with the government covering up the UFO phenomenon and all this, that we
Now you
they
said
try to
that you
act
might
like
have a little
nothing's
bit. Yeah,
happening.
you were trying to say that you might have a different, like something recently has changed in the way you think about things. Go ahead and let's
Yes.
let's hear that.
So for starters, like when I got into this, like started reading this, I've read the book series through now a couple times. Um, and it made me think, like, what if instead of, oh well, the government says that we can't handle the idea of alien life, or the idea of interdimensional life, or ultra terrestrials, whatever you want to call them. Instead of that, maybe what if it's that they know something more about this dark forest hypothesis? And what if there's a dark forest strike coming towards us, and they know about it, but there's nothing we can do about it to stop it? Like some other race is going to try to destroy us, and maybe these beings are here trying to be like, hey, we might be able to help, but we might not. We don't know yet. And so
Okay.
That would lend to, okay, of course you don't want to announce this to the public, that saying, well, the world's going to end, and maybe these uh these other beings, maybe they can help, maybe they can't, we don't know yet, and maybe it's not going to happen for another 400 years. But how do you announce something like that? What if, instead of being, well, they can't handle the idea that there's extraterrestrials, or they can't handle the idea that there's another non-human intelligence on this planet? What
I
if
have a
it's,
hard time with the whole idea that the government knows better than I do, or like
oh
like
yeah, no,
just
me
give me
too.
the information and let me do with it as I wish. Is
Yeah,
that is
and
that too much for you?
I agree with that, and I think that when it comes to just knowing that there's other non-human intelligence on this planet, that yes, like we should know, like that shouldn't be something they should decide whether we know or not. But when it comes to, if they knew that our planet was going to be destroyed within the next 200, 300 years, something like that, and that
Yeah.
there's nothing we can do about it, that might be something that they wouldn't want to say. And just kind of like that quote from Men in Black, where it's the first Men in Black, he's like, oh, there's always a Corellian battle cruiser or an intergalactic death ray or
Mm.
some plague ready to wipe out life on this miserable little planet. The only way these people get on with their happy little lives is they do not know about it. And
Neil, that is such a fantastic thing that you were able to quote Tommy Lee Jones, like
for the
word by
first Men in
word,
Black,
right off the top of your head, as if you just watched it. I remember the line, but I was like, damn,
God,
he got every word of that.
yeah, it's sad. It's sad that I know that.
Just imagine what it would do to the beer sales. You understand? Or just like property
Vodka
values.
flying off the shelf.
People are like, I ain't got to work because in like people wouldn't have kids. There would be I don't know
Yeah,
what would happen. That would be very interesting.
and that's also what happens in the book series. It is interesting. They try to come up with different ways to, like, well, maybe we need to do this escapism. Maybe we need to escape the our solar system. And what's really interesting is one of the ways that they come up with that could announce to the rest of the galaxy that you're safe is to slow down the speed of light in your localized solar system.
That's actually
To
happening supposedly. That the speed of light is slowing down. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I have. And
Like it's really has like it's been proven by physics. I think in the '80s, and I just heard about it like recently, and I was
yeah,
just like, "Are you kidding me?"
and in this, what they say is that, like, if you can slow it down to, I think it's like 22 meters per second, then you would never be able to escape your solar system as a civilization. So you could keep evolving there, but you'd never be able to escape that, even if you developed light speed travel,
Right, but what
because
does
the
that do
speed
to
of light would be
physics?
slowed
What does
down.
that do to physics? What does that do to Einstein and Oppenheimer? If it's supposedly a constant, and that's in everything that physics is based upon, then all of it is out the window. And like I said, the sale of beer.
I mean, it changes a lot of math, but it doesn't actually destroy any.
Really, I'm
Yeah,
not a math guy.
it would just make time dilation really crazy if the speed of light was slowed down that slow. Because then
Oh
if
my
you travel
god.
just a little too fast, all of a sudden now you'd start experiencing time much different than everybody
Oh my
else.
god.
Um,
Imagine you're making love to your significant other, and it's just all slow and shit. Just
or if part
yeah.
of part of your body travels too fast compared to the rest of it, would you, like, get out of sync in time? Like, if you moved your fist really quick, is your hand gonna, like,
Why
be
would you
like
say
slowing
fist?
down?
Neil Fist?
uh, I did a hand motion, man. Not
God
get
damn,
out of the
Neil.
gutter. Get out of the
No,
gutter.
dude, no. It was just. It's just. It's a. I couldn't. That was insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the change in your actual thought though? You're
Okay.
saying that.
Well, my actual change on the idea, because I'm just like you, have a healthy distrust of our government. I've never trusted
Oh, all
90% of what
governments.
comes
All
to me. Yeah,
governments. Let's be
yeah, all
honest. Yeah.
governments. Um, but
Legalized mafia, basically.
but
Seriously.
after listening, oh yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. Um, uh, I after listening to some of what's been going on recently with the UAP hearings, and with, like,
Mm.
David Grush coming out and talking, and listening to some of the UAP caucus, and how um, these senators and Congress people, like, they don't really have a clue what's going on, and I really truly think they don't. I think that this all goes back in the Los Alamos days when they first started with the, nuclear secrecy. Like in Oppenheimer, they created this whole town, and they made it to where, most government officials didn't actually know what was going on. It was only a
Mhm.
small few. And I think what happened is that when UFOs started to come around, when we had like crashings and started to recover these objects, I think that they maybe tied them in with this nuclear secrecy, and I think the Department of Energy got a hold of it, and they have, because the tightest laws of secrecy we have is around nuclear power and nuclear devices.
Right, right.
And so if these have some type of fusion reactor or some type of nuclear reactor of some kind, um, then it would get like pinned under those same secrecy laws. And if that's the case, then it's under the tightest of secrecy. So then what happens as a government? You're like, well, hold on. If we need to keep this really secure, if other people found out about it, it could explode. So what do we do? Well, we ship it off to third party, or we ship it off to corporations. And so you get companies like Lockheed, um, that you give them these crash materials, and now it's out of the government's hands. So they're like, no, our hands are clean. We don't know anything about this, and they can say that, and then all of a sudden now you have a whole group of our government that actually doesn't have a clue what's going on, and they're being told that, oh, it's all hogwash, just don't listen to it. So then they're like, oh yeah, it's just hogwash. I'm a senator, I should be getting a straight answer, but they're not getting a straight answer because everything has been passed on to defense contractors. And
Don't you think that, like, because he was such a wild gun? I'm not saying you can either be for or against him. I don't really care how you feel about it, but that Trump dude, he wouldn't you think that he would say something? I mean,
I
what do
mean,
you?
he kind of did, honestly. I think he did
Yeah,
without realizing. I mean, he did come out and say, he was like, "Oh, he's like, I looked into that Roswell, and it's crazy," or something like that. He said something along those
but he
lines, and
says
it
a
was
lot of
like,
stuff too. He said a lot of
"Oh
stuff.
yeah,
I
yeah,
enjoyed it. I enjoyed I'm enjoying every bit of it now. It's like watching what was that MTV show back in the day? Not Cribs, the one after that, the one where they like just what was it the Real World? It's like
oh yeah,
we're watching the real world like literally unfold in front of us, and we're supposed to take it as if it were like real. It's
yeah,
not.
right, right,
I think it's all a stage, man. I don't know what do you what is your sentiments on what is like because every election cycle something crazy happens. Like
always,
we had
always,
I mean it's been ramping up every time. There was the 16
yeah,
one where like he came out like the guy we were talking about like a wild man. It just which was funny. Yeah, you're a tough guy, Jeb. That made me laugh really hard. I ain't gonna lie. Rosie O'Donnell, no, only her. That was really funny. And then you got 2020, which was the whole Movid thing. The shot her around the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
right,
And then the whole BLM thing and all the rioting, and then this one is going to be. It's been predicted like there's supposed to be like this immigration situation that's going on,
oh
and
yeah,
it's all seems so scripted. And I think
hmm
we're just we're definitely at the tip of the iceberg. I would say we're kind of past that. We're definitely like jumped the shark on that, and I think a lot of people who are kind of. I mean, seriously, this whole shot heard around the world thing definitely made people start going, all right, because to face the truth that there is something or some entity or some type of power that is trying to actually kill people for blood for money. Let's go ahead and say that. Then there's going to be people who I think the opposition, which would be us, oddly enough, are starting to put boots on ground, kind of like grassroots it, and really getting to our school systems and getting into our local governments and really like making a change. And I think we should continue doing that. I mean, like with a positive message of like your friend said, of love and things like that.
yeah.
But I don't know. It's an entire. It's a shit show. I don't know what to make of it, man.
Yeah, it definitely is. And talking about like wanting mass killings,
No, of
that's
course
another
not.
thing. That's another thing too. Like, just so if you notice, there's always war going on, and there's always somebody is always trying to kill somebody else. And something that I've been hearing a lot of talk about recently too is that, what if this planet, and what if our species was created to be a like almost like a soul factory, something that like we're here just to create like souls or some type of
Man,
actual
I gotta.
tangible thing
We
that
play any instruments? We play any instruments, Neil? Because we got to start a metal band called Soul Factory,
soul
dude.
factory.
That's.
Yeah. But
Oh man.
but yeah, it's like that's something that I've heard about. I think I think there's been a few books about it as well, and there was one I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I have it written down somewhere that I wanted to check out. But it is that idea that the human beings were created to basically multiply, advanced technology, multiply, and then die so that we can have that, so that souls can be sent up or go wherever, and that these beings can harvest them and use them to
Who the
either
hell wrote
further
this? L.
their
Ron
race.
Hubbard or something? It
Dude,
sounds like
there's
something L. Ron Hubbard would write.
it kind of does.
Like,
Kind of does.
it's instead of like he just reversed it and put him in a volcano, but it's like I don't know, man. I don't know, dude, because what I'm trying to say is that I don't know, man. We were discussing, but like I said, I don't know where you lie on the whole thing. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person, whatever that is. And I don't know, man. I've had that connection, and I just don't feel that, dude. Everyone
Yeah.
can have their own opinion, whatever. I just don't see that, man. I don't know if you have, I don't know if you have children or adopted children. I have a little girl, and when she was born, I don't know, man. Like, it's a very, I don't know, what's the word, like where people always say that. You're much better spoken than I am, but there's a change that happens within you when you see their eyes move for the first time. You just go, nah, dog. I ain't no soul factory, man. No, man. No, this is something
Yeah,
different, man.
I would really not like that. That would
You have a
definitely not
cat.
be.
You got a cat at least. I know you got
Yeah,
a cat, right? There you go.
yeah.
So when you look
She
into
was.
your Yeah, when you look into the eyes of your cat, if he's not looking past you to kill a mouse, and he actually looks into your he looks into your eyes, you know there's something more there
Yeah.
than
Oh yeah.
just some type of just flesh and blood kind of thing. There's something. I don't know how to explain that
Yeah.
or whatever that because I don't know. But I'm not. Yeah, there's a lot of theories going around, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the end, dude, it's just this lack of connection. We're all in these cities. I'm in a city of 300,000 people, which is not big at all, which is the way I like it.
Yeah.
And it's much more. It's also a Mexican thing too. People are much more connected here, like much more family oriented. They
Yeah.
work. They
Community
work really
driven.
hard. They play their music. I went to carnival. I never went to carnival my whole life. I just didn't care. And so we were out there. It was me, my lady, and her friends, and you like rented these seats on the main drag on the there's a main road that goes right along the Atlantic Ocean there on the Gulf. And like she's like, okay, we're drinking today, right? I was like, yeah. So she was, what do you want? I was like, I'll take a 6-pack. She goes, I'm taking 12. All right. Oh, Mexicans throw them back, dude. She ain't no different. So we get out there and I get so drunk, I'm eventually, dancing in the street with like people dressed up like Mario. And I'm just saying, like, there's this disconnection that these major metropolises have, whether it be Chicago, New York, LA, especially like Seattle and all these crazy places where like these basically zombies, you know what I mean? People are basically sick, I would say, because people are
Yeah.
sick. They're just out running the streets, and at the same time, you don't know who your neighbor is, and why is
Yeah.
that? Because they want you inside looking on screens, which is what I want you guys to do. While you're at it, go ahead and like and subscribe. Just shot myself in the foot. I figure I
Oh
just.
god.
Oh man, that was a rant.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, and I agree. It is kind of interesting. I grew up in this town, this small town of Ocala, in
Oh,
Florida.
that's right. You're in Florida. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, and it was pretty small. And it's gotten a lot bigger, but it still has like this small town feel. And I've been in big cities, and it is a disconnect, like in
Yeah.
feeling.
Where
But
have you been? Where have you been?
I was in Orlando going to college, and then I lived in Tampa for a few years. I liked Tampa, um, and actually I liked the area I was in because it was
How
like
many people are in Tampa? How big is Tampa?
Tampa's pretty big, and it's got a ton of like I mean you've got like clear water and
Okay, all the little suburbs
You
and
got
stuff
all
like
like
that.
and St. Pete and Treasure Island all down there
Yeah,
in
because I'm from
the island.
Baltimore, Washington area. Dog. Like I think like Washington and the whole metropolis is like 16 million, and then you have Baltimore, which is like another
Whew.
5.
Yeah.
So it's just it's just a buzz. It's a feel. You know what I mean? Like, do you like I? You probably know this, but like I have 10 acres off grid property here in the
Yeah.
jungle of Mexico, right? And like I work here during the week with my girlfriend, and on the weekend I go out to my property, see my little girl, talk with my ex-wife, and all that. And when I'm out there, I sleep at night in a hammock in like a hut that I made with like mosquito netting. I'm seriously, it's like 1852 out there, except with less like diseases, and
Yeah.
hopefully, and that feeling like at night I can see like the Milky Way, I can see
Oh yeah, I
um,
bet that's
all
beautiful.
the shooting stars and all that, and you hear all the crickets and all that. And then you get to these big cities and you realize, like, I don't think we're supposed to be that way. I don't think that's what we're supposed to be doing. I'm not saying we should cull the population by any means necessary. I don't agree with that at all anymore. I used to feel that way, but I did, but times have changed. I guess, when you get older, you don't feel the same way you did when you were younger.
Yeah.
And there's a feeling that people are wanting to get back to that. And I don't know what I hate the word trigger, but what started that. But for me, when I'm out there, dude, like for like a day and a half, 2 days, like stay 2 nights, then I come back during the week, I feel so much better than if I just stay here. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's that recharge that you get, like just going out camping, just spending
Oh
some
yeah,
time in the woods, like disconnecting from electronics and everything really does like it recenters you. It brings you back into focus.
yeah.
And
I
I
broke my phone this morning. I broke it this morning. I got up and I turned the alarm off before the alarm went off. I turned it off. I go to slide the little thing, and it wouldn't move anymore. So the whole day
no.
I'm without a phone. The whole day I'm without a phone. I'm just working, and it was just like I was like, wow, if we had a radio, I feel like I'm in 1995. And
Yeah.
what are you, 37? You said
39.
so 39. So you're 5 years younger than me. So you remember that stuff.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
remember
yeah.
what it was like and how it felt like being with your friends on the weekend and just like
Mhm.
not everyone just constantly looking down at their hands to see who
Yeah.
liked their fucking cat picture. It's like, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just getting in your car, just getting lost. Just like
Dude, it
I
was the
remember,
best times.
yeah, just going for a drive, having a
I
smoke.
remember being in the back of my dad's pickup truck. We had like this, we lived in we were like two white families in an all black neighborhood, right? We'd have all the neighbors like in the yard, in the neighborhood. But as we had to go for a ride, we all get in there, and my dad had like a rusted out like '86 fucking Ford. And when this dude was sitting in a lawn chair in the back, like leaning against the cab, and I remember sitting like on the wheel well, and like you could see the wheel moving. You know what I mean? That was good times. you know, that was good times. And
Uh-huh.
now people are upset when they can't connect to the cloud or whatever the fuck. It's like, come on, man, get over it.
Yeah.
I miss it. It was good times, and we're like dinosaurs talking now. These kids, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been talking about trying to get out, and go back camping more. It's been a
Yeah.
while. I used to go camping all the time. One
Can
of
you
the
work
things I
remote?
loved. What's that?
Can you work remote? Can you work
No,
remote?
no, I can't. I
Ah.
I run a machine shop, so like
Oh, do
can't
you?
do it.
A
Yeah,
machine shop. All right.
yeah,
Well,
it's awful. It's awful.
I used to be a machine operator in Germany, and yeah, I
Yeah.
was I was deemed an essential worker then too. I don't know why. I'm only making sensors for car parts, but I'm
Yeah,
essential. But the people who ordered the parts, they get to stay home. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
yeah, dude. Like, I'm like semi-retired. I still need to kind of make ends meet out here, so I still kind of get to come in town, but I do get to go out too. And
yeah,
yeah, you should definitely do that more often. Tell your man to fucking let's go, man. Let's get up out of here.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, there's just nothing better than like going out to like a remote area with no light
Mhm.
pollution and just being able to look up and watch the stars, watch the shooting stars and all that, and see all the count the satellites overhead. It's just
Have you ever been out of Florida?
not to live, no. But I mean, I've
You've
done
seen you've
travel.
seen snow, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. because people down here, because like basically like you're on the pinguina hanging down, and I'm on the pinguina hanging up, and
Yeah.
like people here, they never seen snow. I'm like, have you guys ever seen
Oh,
snow? And nobody's ever seen snow. And they look at me. They look at me like I'm from outer space because I'm like this tall white guy amongst a bunch of like Mayan people. My girlfriend's like
yeah.
Mayan and part Chinese. You know what I'm saying? Which is an interesting combination. She likes like like papaya and Chinese food. It's interesting. Like for real, like for real. And you, it's I've never been to. I mean, America's very integrated. I grew up in mostly black city. Never bothered me one bit. I did get beat up a lot though, growing up, because I look the way I do. It happens. People don't believe it's true, but it happens. Let's be honest. And then I moved to Germany, which is like all white people. And then you come down to a place like this, and I think everyone should do it at least once. And don't like a lot of like retirees when they come down here, they get behind the like gated community, and then they like just go out and get hammered and just
Yeah.
like fucking shit themselves on the beach, and just that's all they do. And I'm like in the thick of it, dude. Like it's different. And then like I was saying, doing stand up here, it's different, dude. When I get up there, like
Yeah.
so my lady's taking a video of it, and I'm 6'2", 6'3", and everyone here is like 5'8". So I'm like handing the microphone to the next guy, and it looks like I'm handing it to my son. Like here's a cookie, here's a cookie, and I think people need more perspective because Americans. I mean, I haven't lived in America since 2001, 2002. Yeah,
Wow.
it's been a long time. Yeah, I lived in Germany for many years, and I think you get this perspective that is. I don't think it's the only way to look at things.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Speaking of actually different perspectives and snow,
Different.
I have a good Florida man story.
Okay.
I I went to visit my sister in Champaign, Illinois, one Thanksgiving, and there was still snow on the ground when we went up. They had a cold front come through,
Mm-hmm.
and one morning I think it was like 17 degrees outside, something like that, and her cat wanted to go out on the front porch. My sister was like, "No, it's too cold. I'm not going out there with her." So I was like, "I'll go out there with her." So I went out in
Oh,
shorts and a t-shirt in like at like 17, 19 degrees, something like that. And the snow was still on the ground in parts. So I was digging my bare feet into the snow, and I was just enjoying it. The sun was shining. It felt beautiful. It felt
it
amazing out
is.
and these people came walking down the road with their dogs, and they were all in like they had like big hoodies on with like big
Yeah.
furry things, and their
Wait, man,
dog
what are
had a
you doing
jacket
in
on.
our neighborhood? I am Vladimir
Yeah.
Bushkin.
Yeah, but they saw me in my shorts and t-shirt, and they're like, "Oh, you must be from Canada." And I was like, "No, I'm from Florida." And they just looked at me, and they were like, "Okay," and just
Uh,
walked away.
Let's bring a little bit of the sunshine state to you, my friend.
Yeah, they're like, "We're gonna go ahead and go. This is a crazy Florida person out in short sleeves and a
I
t-shirt
would
in 17-degree
freeze, dude.
weather."
I know I sleep out here in a hammock, and I got on pants, sweater, socks. I got my pillow. I'm wrapped up in a comforter, and I'm cold as hell out here. And, but you'll see people here. It'd be, I don't know, in the morning 65, and
Yeah,
they're in like sweaters and hoodies. And I'm out there with shorts and ball cap, just doing my thing. And they're just like, look at this white guy. They call us güeros. That's what they say here in Mexico. Hey, güero, ¿qué pasó? And I'm like, I'm fucking working with you. Let's go.
oh man,
It's fun, man. I think everyone should do it one time. It's like you get like to hear they have their own, because we have, I think, what's the population of Mexicans in America? It's probably north of 35 million, right? Something of that nature, right?
yeah, somewhere in there.
And I just tell them I'm an exchange worker. That's what I tell them. And it's just really cool. And the food is hot as hell. And
Yeah,
they love watching you eat the hot food. And they'll tell you, it's hot. This is not hot. So you'll put like some whatever sauce on something, some taco or something, and you're still on fire, and they just laugh at you, and it's their entertainment. I don't know.
yeah. See, no, I'm a hot guy. When
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
there's a few there's a, there's a few Mexican places around here that
Okay.
you have to ask for the like the actual hot salsa, like the hot roja. And so there's this one place we go to a lot, and it's really good, and I'm always asking for it, and they always kind of look at me, they're like, okay, and they bring it out, and I'll eat the whole thing. But every time we go out, if you look around at the tables, nobody else knows to order it except for like the Mexicans that are there. And you'll see
Okay.
at the Mexican table, they'll have like three things of the actual spicy salsa out, and like none of the white people have it, and I'm like the only one. and I'm but I make
I'm the
my
only
own
one
hot
without
sauce
it.
over
I'm
here.
like the only one without it. They have the habanero.
Yeah,
Was that how do you say it in English? Habanero.
habanero. Yeah,
Habanero. Okay. Habanero, and then they it's like a green clear sauce, and then they'll throw that on there, and then they'll put like jalapenos too. And then like I'm like, is there any? Can we get some guacamole or something like to kill this fire? And then, later you're going to be blowing out the backside. So it's wild, man. It's wild, man. I really enjoy it. I really
yeah.
enjoy it though.
I've got multiple hot sauces that I made in the fridge right now that I made out of ghost pepper,
Oh, okay.
Trinidad scorpions, Carolina reapers,
What the hell's the
and
Trinidad Scorpion? Oh, it's the name of a
uh,
pepper.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
one of the hottest. Like those three are like the trifecta of like some of the hottest peppers in the world.
Okay.
And I've even extracted capsaicin and added it to the sauce by like grinding down those peppers dried up and then soaking them in rum, and then straining out the pepper portion of it, and then letting the rum evaporate, and what you get left behind with is pure capsaicin, and it's just this deep fire red. And
Is that what you're
I
doing?
mix
So
it.
you're reading these crazy books and making hot sauce.
That's what I do.
We're some weird motherfuckers,
Yep.
Neil. I think you would.
Yep.
So let's get into this Miami incident. What do you?
Yeah.
Because I know you're. Well, I don't know how far you are away. I imagine
It's
quite a
like
few hours, a couple
five
hours,
hours, 5 hours away.
5 hours.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't follow it too much because if anything, this is like my rule of thumb. I kind of got it from George Carlin. I don't believe anything the government tells me, and we know at this point that the media is not private. So, like,
Yeah.
what did you feel about that whole thing?
So okay, so Rye was actually the first one to mention it to me. He's like, "What's going on in Miami? Get your people." And when I started looking into it, um, I started seeing a lot of weird things. And like, okay, so the official story from the media is that some kids were getting into a fight, and in some of the reports say that these kids were getting into a fight and then set off fireworks in the mall.
Uh
Other
huh.
things said that they just set off fireworks in a bathroom, and there wasn't a fight, but then these kids were arrested. So something happened with some kids, and like juveniles, and but all of a sudden you look at the images, and the police, I can't remember the numbers exactly now, but I believe it was over 200 squad cars appeared, over 300 officers on the scene,
For
and
fireworks in a
for
mall.
fireworks. Recently, there was a shooting at a murder actually that happened at my local mall,
There must have
and
been like 700 policemen there, right?
it's like I think 30 cop cars showed up. Yet you have some
Well,
kids setting off fireworks, and it causes
right.
that amount. And not only that, but they actually blocked off a quarter-mile radius and would not allow people in or out of that radius, and confiscated every phone from everyone who was in the mall at the time when it happened. So people got their phones taken away. I haven't read anywhere where people got their phones back from that.
Wow.
There was one video that was released that was shot from a skyrise building from
Yes, yes,
way up,
yes.
like, and that's where you can see all the cars lining up, and supposedly in the video too, they say there's some tall figures that you can see moving around. There's something there, but I don't. It's hard to really tell what it is.
You know what it
The
might have been? You know what it might have been? I mean, I'm just kind of shooting it. It might have been like a terrorist thing, or
well,
some type
so
of. Go ahead, go ahead.
that's what I would think too. Like that had to be some kind of like terrorist attack. But even still, like the amount of police that were there on the scene and that close doesn't make any sense.
True.
What really gets interesting is when you start looking into that, there were 911 calls placed that night. From
Okay.
people in the mall, and those calls, these people were saying that they saw beings that were between like 8 to 12 or 8 to 10 feet tall, or 7 to 10 feet tall, something like that. That they were these like tall, lanky beings. And what's really interesting is that they weren't moving fluidly. They were glitching out almost. Like
Glitching.
some of them said
Okay.
they were vibrating. Some people said that they would appear and disappear. They were phasing in and out. Others said that they were floating above the ground and would skip, like they'd move and then jump back and then jump back and jump back. Um, and other people reported that these beings that they saw looked very confused and like disoriented, like they didn't know what the fuck was going on. Um, so that was really interesting. Those 911 calls. Other people who've posted on social media afterwards that said they were there. A lot of them claimed that their phones would not work. They were like,
Right.
"What is happening? This is crazy," and they tried to pull their phones out, and they were just dead. Other people were able to get calls off. And then during the calls, their phone would cut out and just be gone. And then those people got their phones taken away. Um, and there was also a video of a guy whose dad works for the Miami PD,
Okay.
and he was on a call with his dad. And he's recording from like a phone that's off to the side, and he's like, so Dad, what went on down in at the mall? Like, were there aliens there? What was happening? And his dad was like, Nah, I can't talk about it. He's like,
Wow.
yeah, but I
I'm your
mean, you can
son.
tell me. Yeah, you can tell me. And he's like, I can't talk about it. And he's like, I don't know how many times or how many ways you want me to slice it. I'm not going to talk about it. And that's kind of wild.
Whoa.
There's still no talk about it.
A lot of
There's
NDAs probably got signed that day, huh?
yeah, and it's just weird. It just doesn't make sense.
What
It
do you think it was, dude? I mean, because I know you like to extrapolate. That's why you're on the
yeah,
show, and I love your take on things. So, like, what do you think that was, dude?
yeah. I mean, I can't. Obviously, I have no I mean, it's just pure speculation, but
Of course.
it honestly sounds like to me, it sounds like some kind of interdimensional tear, like where um almost like something split between our dimension and another dimension. So
Uh
another
huh.
Earth that exists in the same space as us, but a different plane, almost like something tore there and they were able to bleed through. And so like
Right.
maybe we were bleeding through on their side and they were bleeding through on our
Or this
side.
angle, there could have been like a really good sale at Foot Locker, and a bunch of basketball players ran so fast that it looked like they were glitching out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But
if we're speculating,
yeah, yeah, right. But I mean there's a lot of things similar to that happen. Like uh like that guy that, that saw the oh, I can't remember his name. He was just on the Lost Frequency, right? He went out to the field and he was hunting and he encountered those
oh, Ernie Domino,
yeah, yeah, like to
yes,
me when I was listening to it, I'm like, what if he didn't necessarily encounter these beings in our reality, but what if he like went through some type of dimensional tear and was on a parallel Earth in maybe a different time frame? Like,
yeah, I
what
wouldn't
if?
tell him that. I don't think he would. He's not the kind of guy who would play by those rules. Shout out to Ernie. He's much more down the middle and
Yeah,
a straight shooter. But in the end, who really knows? You know what I mean?
yeah, like because I mean, there's reports of that happening in I believe it was World War II pilots. Some World War II pilots flew through some electrical storm, and when they came out the other side, they um they were trying to find a place to land, and the runway they were supposed to go land on wasn't there,
Oh
and
yeah,
they saw like military vehicles that were like World War I vehicles, and they were like, "What the hell?" And they
I've heard
turned
of
around,
this.
yeah, flew back through that same cloud, and all of a sudden we're back in
I've heard of that
their
too. Like
time.
there was a time slip, I guess you would call it. There's also that too, where
Yeah,
this person they were in England, I think it was. I can't remember exactly names or anything. They were in England, and they were going to go into a bookstore, and then like all of a sudden like things just changed, and there was a woman who was with them. Everyone else changed around except for him and this woman, and then the woman, the store changed into like a clothing store.
yeah,
She starts to walk into the clothing store. He starts following behind her because he's like what's going on? Because she didn't change, so he wanted to talk to her, I suppose. And then everything changed back, and she's like, "What's going on? Why is this a bookstore? I wanted to go into this clothing store." And he's like, "Didn't it was a bookstore before, and then it switched back, and she didn't even recognize that." So
yeah.
Who knows what's going on?
Yeah, yeah, that stuff. I mean, there's that happens like I mean enough times that it's disturbing, and
It
enough
is
times where
disturbing.
it doesn't seem like that's just it's not. I don't believe it's people making things up. Like I don't believe that those people are lying about that. And I honestly feel like some of the cryptid encounters and some of the Bigfoot encounters are similar to that, like where
Okay.
there's like a tear in some dimension that's bleeding over from a parallel earth that where those beings exist, and they're
Mm.
getting bled over into our reality, or we're getting bled over into theirs. And I mean, I
Interesting.
don't know, maybe when we set off, the thousands of nukes that we've set off, maybe we've worn that veil thin. What if, I mean, because we don't
Because
really.
it seemed to happen right after that, didn't it? Like I don't
Yeah,
know about not the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, forest people, not that so much. I think that's been in Native American lore for a very
yeah,
long
for a
time.
long time. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But definitely, I think what was the first nuclear bomb test for the Trinity? Was it 44, 45?
somewhere around there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then like right after, we had Roswell, we had well, Greenwich Forest was a little bit later. It was in the 80s, but a
yeah,
lot of these things just seem to come about. You had Admiral Byrd go down there, and what was the name of that one where they flew into Antarctica?
yeah.
Whatever the name of that was, High Jump. I can't remember the name of it. Project High
Yeah,
Jump,
yeah.
maybe. I'm not quite
That's
sure.
yeah, that sounds.
And like supposedly, like even President Eisenhower had a like a laceable meeting. Neuschwabenland is down there. There's I can say it actually correctly. How would you say it? New Schwabenland? I don't know how they would say it in English. I just Neuschwabenland, and
Yeah,
and there's been it seems to be a gradual ramping up of whatever this is.
yeah,
We're in the age of Aquarius now. That seems to be a weird thing that seems to be happening too. Like the whole Mayan calendar thing, like maybe, Rye always said that like maybe the Earth did end and we actually did shift to an alternate reality because it seems ever since say 1415 there was a very noticeable change.
yeah,
And I remember wanting to do stand up for a very long time, and I finally got the guts to do it in late 14. And I was able to do certain jokes at the very beginning. It didn't matter what I said. And then I remember just right in the middle, like 15, I just remember like everything like just changing and certain things you could say and you couldn't say. And I don't know. It's been
yeah.
we're
And all the
in very
Mandela
interesting
effect.
times. Yeah, we're in interesting times, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That it really is interesting. And I think one last thing that I wanted to go into, because you reminded me of this is kind of like shifting topics, but
Sure.
talking about like the religious aspect of it, and that we definitely have some soul, something exists when we pass. um I've I had an experience, I think I told you guys about it, where I had a dream where I encountered a friend of mine's dad who had recently died.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it was like he didn't react, like I couldn't control him. It was a lucid dream, couldn't control him, and he had a message, and I passed it on to my friend. And then my friend told me that his sister and his grandma both experienced that as well. Come to find out, I was talking to his mom just recently about that, and she
Again.
experienced.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was talking to his mom, and she had the same things happen. Like, but he had a different message for her, but he approached her in the same way in dream format. And all of us, once that when he told me, he's like things aren't what I expected, but we're gonna be okay, and you're gonna be okay. And I'm gonna go somewhere soon where I won't be able to be in contact anymore, and I can't explain it, and you would never understand it, but it's going to be okay. And that
Wow.
was the last, like, after that happened, it was shortly after that that none of us ever experienced him in our dreams again,
Wow.
or in that capacity. I've still occasionally had a dream or two about him, but I recently was listening to some other people who shared experiences where they had dreams of people come to them after they had passed, and they had things to say that were very similar, that they were going to be like where they were, they could be in contact, but they were going to be heading somewhere where they couldn't explain it, and they wouldn't be able to be in contact anymore. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, this it really changed my, because I'm not religious. I grew up in like a Baptist family,
Okay.
um but I wouldn't say I'm an atheist. I'm more of a agnostic or more of
Okay, yeah.
there's something to religions, and the fact that they all share so many similar stories.
Oh yeah, the flood stories
Um,
alone.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah. There's something there, like, and there's a
yes.
reason why we've kept them going this long,
Yeah,
and kept these stories
I just have a hard
in
time with the
tradition.
eating of the body and the drinking of the blood stuff. Not to
That's
shit on anyone's religion in particular. If you believe that, like
metal as hell. What are you
that's
talking about?
my girlfriend is that she's Catholic, and we've had these deep discussions and all these things. But Jesus is definitely a powerful name. Like if you're experiencing some type of like paranormal type situation or some encrypted type situation where you feel like you're in danger of some sort, you can actually invoke the power of this
Yeah,
entity's name, and it will stop it. That's what blows
and
me away by it.
not just paranormal, but also people have claimed that when they've encountered what they thought were aliens, when they've like spoken Jesus' name to them, they also
They kind of
react to
go,
it, and
"Oh,
that's pretty interesting.
Big J, Big J." We're not talking about Michael Jordan either. We're talking about the Big J. So
Yeah,
Neil,
and
yeah, dude, we're gonna. I'm definitely, you're gonna be a mainstay on my show because it'll end up because every time we talk, dude, we always seem to go who knows where. We talk about
yeah,
God knows what, and I always enjoy having you on, and I will always enjoy having you on. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming
yes,
on the
sir.
first episode of the Eye of Jupiter, and thanks for coming on my birthday.
Yeah, thanks
And
for having me.
dude, much luck to you and your partner there, and we'll keep in touch. And yeah, dude, write me once in a while. Let's the next time we do one of these, we're gonna go through, and I'm gonna actually do a little bit of like research. I looked like the dark my tabs at the top of my screen. It was dark force hypothesis because I looked back through our messages and I was like, "What is
Yeah.
that?" I was like, "Oh, okay, I know what he's gonna be talking about today." So
Yeah,
I
and that's
appreciate it, man.
that's the Netflix series is going to be coming out soon. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be talking about it because it's an amazing book series. It really is wild. It's a wild ride, and
Absolutely.
should be a cool big budget
I
Netflix
think this
series.
I think this whole year is going to be a wild ride. So we're gonna
Yeah,
at least on that stuff we can definitely keep in touch on that. And like, hey, what do you think about that? Because you never know what you can't say on this format. Because I'm eventually have to go over to Rumble too and do like some real like I really want to. There's things I want to say that I
yeah,
can't say. There's reasons
yeah,
why I'm here and not where you are. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And yeah, I'll eventually have to make that shift. And I wanted to ask you too. Would you be upset if I were to take an AI and turn your voice into Spanish?
Absolutely not. You could
All
totally
right,
do
man.
that.
That way, you heard it here, folks. He said yes, because
I did.
because I
I
just want to
give
get this stuff
permission.
out there. Huh? Say it again.
Yeah, I give permission. I just want to
He
make that
gives
clear.
Neil Ballas gives permission,
That is
and
correct.
I give you guys permission to like and subscribe to this channel, and don't be afraid to come on back now. You hear? And thanks for listening and watching the Eye of Jupiter podcast. And until next time, Neil, take it easy, brother.
Thank you. You too.
You have been listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. If you have any strange occurrences, stories, or witnessed anything out of the ordinary, don't be afraid to send me an email at the Eye of Jupiter podcast at gmail.com, and maybe you will be on the show. And please remember, we are the Eye, and we are aware.